Okay, this is the daily money-making setups that were spotted and available on the S&P Emini futures contract. We're using the 1500 tick bar chart in the processtrading.com right edge trading system. Now you can pull up any of our other videos that are posted out here, or you can go to processtrading.com and look at the videos there. And you will see that we often talk about trend trades. And in the processtrading.com trend trade system, you can trade to the downside when the process trading VWAP is gray, or you can trade to the upside when it's yellow. When it's gray, you have to have a timing alert dot that is above the price bars. So on this day, you could have taken a trend trade using this dot or this one or this timing alert or this timing alert. And of course they would have all been successful, and you also would use the trade management technique associated with a trend trade. And that happens day in and day out where there are good trend trades available according to the processtrading.com right edge trading system. But today on the setups, I'm going to talk primarily about discretionary and contrarian or counter trend trades. Now you can take contrarian trades or counter trend trades when price reaches and touches or goes beyond these contrabands. That's this white band here and the white band right here. On today's chart, price did touch the contrarian band right here and down here, and those are two trades that we're going to talk about. This trade was a discretionary trade because it didn't reach the contrarian band. But the thing I want to point out is that we emphasize this over and over again. This process trading VWAP line serves as one of the catalysts for trend trades, but it also serves as a support and resistance line, and also, importantly, it serves as a regression to the mean line. Now, it doesn't have any worth having a regression to the mean line if you don't know where price is going to regress from. Price regresses back to the mean from the contrarian or contrabands. And that's why we could take this one and this trade here, because they would be contrarian trades and they regress to the mean. So here's the things that you want to look for when you're taking the contrarian trades. One, if the process VWAP is going to be gray, because this is going to be a counter trend trade, and so we're going to be going to the upside. The gray says the trend is down, so this is a counter trend trade. When you have a gray process trading VWAP and you're going to take a counter trend trade, you want to look for a white on the process trading VWAP line. So you have that here and you have that over here. The gray says that the downtrend is established by just a normal price pattern. Then when you have the gray, the red within the gray, that's telling us that the price pattern is starting to get extended. And when we have the white, that tells us that the price pattern is a bit overextended. So that's why we want to look for that when we are taking our counter trend trade. So we're looking for the white within the process trading VWAP. The next thing we look for of course, is the price to break the VWAP, to touch it or break it. Then, once price has done that, then you need a timing alert dot, which we have right here and we have right here. And the way that we take our trade, as far as the trade management goes, is the bar that has the timing alert dot, we look to the previous bar and we place our stop 1/2 point below the low of the previous bar. That gives us a low risk, tight stop, and a potential large gain. Now, one of the things you have to be mindful of is the price bar with the timing alert dot. The low of that bar has to be higher than the low of the previous bar. It can just be one tick, but it has to be higher. The low of the price bar with the timing alert dot has to be higher than the low of the previous bar. And then again, we set our stop 1/2 point below the low of the previous bar. And you can see how this worked out here. So when we place our order entry here, it's much different than when we're managing a trend trade. Here, we get in immediately. We set a tight stop and we get in as soon as we can when we get our timing alert dot. And in this case, if we were to have taken it up to where we would take our discretionary trade here, if you were to take that complete trend right there, then that would have been good for about 13 points. So now let's look at our other counter trend trade over here and see if we were validated in our setup. And remember, the trend trades, the counter trend trades, and the discretionary trades are all done on the upper half of the screen with the indicators, the timing alert dots, the price bars, and the contrarian bands. The discretionary trades also utilize the lower portion with the discretionary indicators, which are the Interg, which stands for internal energy, the sentiment oscillator, which tells you the conviction that's happening with the trading community, and then the short-term trend oscillator with its pullback line. So we'll explain that when we get into the discretionary trade. But over here, we're looking at our other contrarian trade. Now, we had white right here, and we had a timing alert dot, except that the previous bar wasn't lower than the low of the bar with the timing alert dot, so we could not take that. Here we have a timing alert dot, and the previous bar is a small amount lower, so this is a valid trade. We do have the white on the process trading VWAP, which tells us it's in the overextended mode. Remember, this is, the gray is normal, the red is extended, and the white is overextended. So it's overextended, and we have price going below the contrarian band, so those conditions are met. We have a timing alert dot, so that checks that off, and at that bar with the timing alert dot, the low of that is slightly higher than the low of the previous bar. So we're going to get in immediately, and we are going to set our stop 1/2 point below the low of the previous bar. Now, the other factors, when we're looking at this, it met all the conditions, so we can take that trade, but we also had a trend alert dot here and 2 trend alert dots down here on the Interg. As well, we had the sentiment oscillator, which was below the bottom. It's cutting up through the bottom, and it's cutting up through sentiment. So that's another strong sign that price is going to reverse. And then the short-term trend is coming up below the lower bound as well. So meeting all the conditions, if we take this trade and we take it up to here, now you might have got out here or anywhere in here, but had you stayed in the trade from here to here, that would have been another 10 points. Now, the way that you could have stayed in that trade is by reading the discretionary indicators and what they're telling you. And these are gone over in more detail over on processtrading.com. And I won't get into that now because on the contrarian trades, you don't have to look at the discretionary indicators. But when you do, you see that they are all confirming the trade and they help you stay in the trade. So the last trade we're going to talk about is the discretionary trade itself. That's the one that occurred right here. Now, it's not a contrarian trade because it does not reach the contrarian band. So we're going to take this trade on the strength of our discretionary indicator readings. We do know that price has come close to the contrarian trade point. So we also see that the band is yellow here. And when the band is yellow, just like in the gray band where the white is extended, within the yellow, that says an uptrend. And that says the uptrend is occurring normally. The green says the uptrend is a bit extended, and the blue says it's overextended. So here we have a timing alert dot. We have price close to the contrarian band. We have it in an overextended condition. We look down to our discretionary indicators because this is a discretionary trade, not a contrarian trade. And we see right here that on the internal energy, that demand, the green bars, came up to its apex, and then weakness came in. Weakness is identified with the gray bars here. So we see weakness came in right here. More importantly, we look down to the sentiment oscillator, and we see that momentum, which was overextended above the upper bound of the oscillator, is now coming down through the upper bound and is cutting down through the sentiment line, and the sentiment line itself is starting to cut through the upper bound and is starting to slope down. As well, we had trend alert dots down here that were red, which is to the downside, as opposed to green over here, which is to the upside, and green over here, which is forecasting the upside. And we have the short-term trend oscillator cutting the short-term trend line, cutting down through the upper bound, getting down to the pullback line, and price does not pull back here. It keeps going through the pullback line. So that's another sure sign that you're in a downtrending market, and you can see right here that in fact on the short-term trend it changed from green to red. But more importantly is the slope and that it cut through the pullback line. So the position of the line and the slope of it is more important. The position of these lines, the momentum line and the sentiment line, is also important because you have the sentiment line here. It came down through the midline and then it just bounced along the bottom of the oscillator here. It didn't come back up to the midline and cut through it or anything. So it's still showing weakness. If it's in the lower half, it's going to be showing weakness. If it's in the upper half, it's going to be showing more sentiment for strength, unless the line is sloping down. So the slope and the position of the lines are also a way to read the sentiment oscillator in these indicators down here. So again, just to review, on the discretionary trade, it was price was close to the contrarian band. It had a timing alert dot to it. It was in an overextended position. Price was turned weak. The momentum and the sentiment had both turned down. We had a trend alert dot to the downside, and the short-term trend started to slope down itself. So that was a high probability trade. And if you had taken this trade and went all the way down with it to the conclusion of the trend, and then took our contrarian trade right here, if you had taken that for the full extent of the trend, that would have been 20 points. So those were the trades that were available today, as well as the trending trades, which would have given you a satisfactory trading day in and of themselves. So, but those are the setups that were occurring on the processtrading.com rate edge trading system, and that's what we're pointing out here. If you would like to see how consistent these are and the daily setups every day, just hit the subscribe button and these should come to you, or go over to processtrading.com. If you have any questions or anything on it, you can ask questions down at the bottom of the page in the contact form. Just put your email in and we'll get back to you. And if you wonder how the process trading system itself works, there's plenty of instructional videos and information over on processtrading.com itself. So tomorrow starts a new month, and I hope this month was very good for you, and the next month is good for all of us. And I will see you on the next video.